So, Councillor, how satisfied are you with KPMG's findings?
Well, I think they could have gone. They could have dug deeper. I'm reading. I've read it now pretty well from back to front. I've got a call into Paul Ross. I have questions of him. He's the basically he headed up the audit. So I have several questions of Paul Ross. I've also asked for a tape of the council meeting, the special council meeting, I guess last week ago Wednesday, and so I want to go over that and carefully review what was said, and after that I might have further comments. I can't tell you.
So, how satisfied are you? Are you satisfied or are you not?
Well, number one, I don't. I voted against hiring KPMG to do the audit, as you know. I find it curious now that I've been accused of basically the high cost of this audit, and I voted against it. So I don't know how that works, but certain people think in certain ways. I voted against it. I warned council that bringing in a firm like KPMG or any other accounting firm, the costs tend to escalate. They'll give you an original price, and then they'll say, but we might have to do add-ons, and that's exactly what happened. It's now apparently $140,000, but I do have a question: does that include HST and any other ancillary costs that would drive the cost up? So anyway, I didn't vote for it, so I don't know how I can be blamed for the cost.
So, how satisfied are you with KPMG's findings?
I think it's generally an operational audit. It's not a forensic audit, even though Paul Ross is their head of forensics down in Toronto, and he made it clear that it was sort of an overview of the policies of council and the corporation and how well or not well they were followed. So it's not a forensic audit. Should there have been one? I can't suggest that until I speak to Paul. I'd also like to know what he might have changed in Angela Berry's script, and that's not in here. And know whether they'll say or not, that's another question.
So you're not satisfied?
No, I'm not totally satisfied. Number one, I don't think I oppose the KPMG doing this audit. There are internal auditors, and London, when they looked at this matter, their administration basically concluded that you shouldn't have your internal auditors do a more in-depth audit such as this, and the perception is not good, and I haven't changed my mind on that one.
So you've been calling for an audit on the WFCU Centre for years now, and it's finally been completed. KPMG has concluded there was no wrongdoing and all responsibilities were met. Do you feel like there's any egg on your face?
No, not at all. I mean, if you go through this, which I did, there's plenty of nuggets or kernels where the city did not strictly follow policy, where they weren't strictly transparent with the expenditures and the revenues, and it's pointed out in here. An audit is an interesting thing. You could get another person who's looking perhaps for what wasn't done right, and it could be totally spun in a different way. KPMG tends to soft pedal things, and they're very cautious with their words. It seems to be reasonable. It appears to be reasonable under the circumstances. A lot of those soft pedal words, where a hard-hitting auditor general, certainly in other jurisdictions, would probably write it in a much different fashion.
Do you plan on talking this over with Mr. Langlois?
Well, I've talked to Todd actually to get the, but he really had very little, if nothing, to do with it. That was another thing that when 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 the audit came to council for approval, I suggested that it should be Todd Langlois that, since he's now hired, it should should take over the audit, and council decided not to do that. They said they wanted KPMG to do it, and Todd was basically, I think he was kept in the loop, and that's about it. But he certainly didn't sign off on it, and but that's the way council wanted it, and so that's what they got.
What do you make about the timing of the release of the audit report?
Well, I was upset.
So just to be clear on this,
yeah.
The mayor called this with an emergency meeting. You were on vacation. You didn't know that this was coming at all.
Not at all. I went on vacation on first decent vacation I've had in 2 or 3 years, by the way. I went on vacation and went out to BC to see my son and visit other friends and relatives out there. And I left on July 18th or 19th. I informed the clerk's office, Steve Lacademus, where I'd be until August 3rd. And apparently that wasn't mentioned at the meeting. They knew I was on vacation. I think they must have known on the Monday before, because there was an executive committee meeting, and I didn't attend that one, so I think Mayor Francis must have known that I was on vacation, and that I wouldn't be back for a snap call of which was barely the legal 24-hour notice. In fact, I went back on my emails and it was 8 minutes less than 24 hours notice when I got it, so maybe it was...
Do you think the mayor did this on purpose?
Well, I don't want to be accusatory. I think it was good timing. It was fortuitous timing for the mayor. I'm sure he knew about the regional games, or the world games that were coming up, and he got his picture on the front page and exonerated on the audit on the side. So it was perfect timing for him, and I wasn't there to perhaps spoil the party.
What's your reaction to some of the comments of your colleagues during the meeting?
Well, I'm not going to be lured into name calling, juvenile name calling on this or anything else. I'm certainly not going to apologize for being on vacation. That is outrageous. That I would be asked to apologize for being on vacation, and basically I'm not going to apologize for asking questions. That's my I represent the taxpayers. I put taxpayers first, and my style has always been to ask questions, probe things, and that's basically what I did with this whole audit issue. And I didn't call for the audits, which seems to be out there now. In fact, administration on this audit, WFCU audit, actually approached council and the audit committee, which I was then on, to do the audit. So it wasn't me. What I was demanding was to hire an auditor general and help out Angela Berry, who had a superhuman workload on her, and she was anxiously waiting for the hiring of an auditor general for 3 years. And council twice turned back recommendations from the audit committee to hire an auditor general. So that was the main focus of my criticisms.
Well, that's a bit disingenuous, don't you think? I mean, in some of your blog postings and some things you've said at council, you've clearly inferred that there was some sort of wrongdoing.
No, I think what I did infer was that why are we holding this up? We held up one about a year ago. There was a recommendation from Bill Carter to council to hire an auditor general. That lagged on for months, and then the person eventually walked, and we had to go through the whole process again. Yeah. And Todd Langlois could have been in place 2-3 months before before this was brought down. So and so I did suggest it was suspicious But I didn't say that there was any malfeasance, but I did question why is this continuing to happen, that the delay in hiring an Auditor General. And at the end of the day with Todd, council started saying, well, let's look at contracting out, which which delayed it again. So I was basically critical of the delays, and I did suggest, you know, why is this continuing to happen? Why is it being delayed? And so that was my major points of criticism. You could go over my blogs, and that would be the case.
So where does it go from here? Is this issue over?
Well, I want to, as I said, I've got to call into Paul Ross, and I've got some questions to ask of him about, you know, was anything changed with regard to Angela Berry's draft. Certainly, the Angela Berry case remains. It hasn't been dealt with, so sometime in the future, perhaps Angela will speak for herself on it. I don't know. That remains to be seen. I see in here that there's going to be an operational audit on how things have gone at the WFCU since the doors open. Certainly, nothing in here is mentioned about the $1 million discrepancy in what was projected for that project as compared to the 3 buildings that were closed. So those projections have not borne out for whatever reasons to the tune of $1 million. And the 3 properties have not been sold.
So as far as you're concerned, is this issue over?
Well, no, I think it. You know, I'm not going to be bringing it up all the time, but I think as further information develops, I might have comments at that time. But right now, I'm just as happy as anybody else that it's off the plate.